Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, you finally got to travel.
I finally got out of Missouri. Yes, that's right. That is correct. To bright and sunny Phoenix, where it was a dual IFPA event, Consumer Connection from the foundation, and then the second half of the week was the annual retail conference, which was very well attended. Lots of retailers here, so it was. I would suspect IFPA would be very happy with it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I think Kathy Burns had reached out to us and let us know how many attendees and just how many retailers were going to be in attendance. And it's something that, if it hadn't been the same week as Consumer Connection, which you are very connected to, then I would have been there.
Yeah. Well, sorry about that.
Well, that's enough travel for me. Everyone, and FPFC is going on this week. We got April and of course early May. Hopping months lately, but what did you learn at the retail conference?
Okay. It was a day and a half event. There was a lot of information. So I will be writing a number of stories and coverage about it. I would say um, the two biggest things we talked about and heard from. One is the effect of inflation, and we had some Circana data, and I would say it's two pronged. 95% of consumers say they notice food inflation and don't like it, but at the same time, it's produce is I think the numbers were food inflation in general is like 32% above where it was at the end of 2019, but in produce it's only about 18%. So it's good in a way that produce inflation is not as significant as some other parts of the grocery store, but at the same time, consumption is not up in fresh produce over that time. So people are not really taking advantage of it being kind of a better deal than some of the other parts of the store. People are not really cutting back so much on grocery shopping. In fact, they're doing more grocery. Some of it's coming out of food service. So the challenge for the industry is, I guess, more not just on price, but more of the value message. Because one of the data points was value added produce is doing much better than other parts of the stores because people value their time. Maybe people are working more to make up for the difference in their lack of buying power for inflation, and so they're willing to spend a little more for the added convenience of some of the fresh produce items like that. And then there's a lot of generational talk. I guess I'll talk about that on the consumer connection part. Um, the other big talking point was AI. How does AI fit into the retail space, both in operationally and in relating to consumers? So the big message I think is it's not it's a tool, and it's a tool that can be very useful. One of the VP buyers from Gelson's talked about how they use AI in their warehouse, their DC, and they use drones, and that helps them keep track better uh, of how much is in their warehouse and inventory, and how it's an excellent tool for real time information. But at the same time, it still needs people to make decisions based on that. So AI is not, at both conferences, there was no fear of AI. I remember when we were at the global show, there was a little bit of fear that AI would replace jobs, but no one here is talking about that. It's a tool that can be used to improve jobs, and no one brought this up, but this analogy kept coming to me. I'm a baseball fan, and people have talked about, can we get electronic strike zone? And then the umpires union was against it because it would eliminate their jobs, but it wouldn't. The guy would still be behind the plate. We would just have a more accurate strike zone call. And I think the industry should look at AI that way, is like, we're still in control, but we're using tools to make things better and smarter.
Yeah, we're using it as a data collection. And then it gives you, here's what's going on. And then, what should we do with this information? It reminded me of what Dollar General did with the AI to analyze its self-checkouts and decide, you know what, this is not really good for our business, so we need to pull back on this program. And then most recently this week, we got a news release from Sam's Club. And instead of receipt checkers, they have an AI solution that they're putting into about 120 clubs right now that is going to automate the receipt checking process, which is something that a lot of people get annoyed about when they're leaving the not everyone has Jesse and Kalani like we've got it at my Costco with his matching Aloha shirts and sneakers to strike up a conversation with. Maybe you just want to get out of the store. So those are two recent examples of retailers using AI. That's not necessarily, I mean, the receipt checker job is something that I'm sure they still have someone monitoring the door, but that function of just like perfunctory check, yeah, you're good. I think a lot of people would be happy to see that go away in some instances.
All right, so you want to hear about consumer connection now, I suppose.
Well, yeah, especially since Jonna Parker from Circana, she's telling us the produce inflation isn't that high, so why aren't we selling more? Why aren't we eating more?
It's hard to connect. You know, there's the problem of access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's what IFPA worked really hard on working with in I guess government to keep the WIC produce voucher, and that was considered a big win. So that does increase access to fruits and vegetables, but there's still a much bigger problem of people who have access and are still not choosing it. So it's a matter of inspiration, and there's no easy answers. One of the answers is a couple of the speakers talked about how fresh produce marketers need to embrace pop culture more and just get involved and get their brands involved in different ways. You know, just being part of various conversations. Some other food and other industry brands have started to do that a little bit more, and I think it's just kind of thinking bigger and just being more relevant, being in more places. So that's a good answer. AI came up in the consumer connection too. There's a marketer panel talking about how they use AI to kind of help start brainstorming sessions and and do some of the operational tasks in marketing and making their jobs more efficient that way. So it really can affect like anywhere in the supply chain. Just learning how to use that and how to make it help you make your job easier. Of course, I'll write some of this stuff up so our readers will be able to read it all throughout next week. So what's going on back at the home front in the regular industry?
Well, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned trading out of restaurants and into grocery because I have a report from it's called 2024 Restaurant Trend Watch. And it said that 67% of their respondents say that increased costs are making restaurant dining too expensive, and 68% are trading down from restaurant meals to food from the grocery store. And it's, you know, with more than 71% of Gen Z and millennials doing so. And I think that's really interesting because I feel like Gen Z and millennials are the ones that are spending a lot of money on DoorDash, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
they didn't
just
mention Gen X. I can't believe it.
uh, Marsha.
They did some generational stuff here too, and there's always one generation that gets left out.
The research also found that 60% of consumers are trading down from a casual dining into fast food. But I'm like, have you price checked that lately? Because I mean, might be cheaper than McDonald's right now.
Yeah, I would think the value proposition. It seems to me like going above fast food, you get more value because it costs so darn much now.
Right. You know, especially depending on how you dine, if you are picking up for a takeout meal, then you might be getting a better deal. I would really like to see if someone actually went out and cost like compared going to, you know, any number of fast food restaurants and compared that to a medium fast casual. I bet you would find some areas where the prices would actually be lower. We also had a story this week that is no surprise. The rapid grocery thing has come to a rapid decline. I don't know of any that are left in the big cities. Getir, which is based in Turkey, has pulled out of the United States. Remember, they bought Gorillas, which was there too. They also are pulling out of the United Kingdom, and then they are selling or they're just closing out in Germany. Germany still has Flink, which I almost got hit by a Flink driver last time I was in Berlin, on his little bike with his little groceries. And
It would still
they're,
hurt.
yeah, they're um, focusing on their core market in Turkey. What was really interesting is they were at one time worth $12 billion, allegedly. This is one of those market value things that's like witchcraft
Right.
sometimes. And they were losing an estimated or burning through $50 million a month, and only 7% of their revenue is outside of Turkey. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, that's not a great business plan. But what I think is relevant for us in the US, I mean, losing bike grocery delivery, I think GoPuff is still around, of course, and then there might be a few others that are still like working on drones and bot delivery and things like that. Getter bought Fresh Direct, which is, has been in the New York market for 25 years. They bought them back in December. And at the time, the rumor mill said that they wouldn't have them for very long. So they did say at the time I wrote my story, Fresh Direct was completely in limbo. Nobody had commented on it. Since then, a statement has been put out that says Fresh Direct is committed to guaranteeing a seamless and uninterrupted process and maintaining its service. So I bet you they get sold to someone else pretty soon.
Yeah.
So that
Well, grocery delivery is big business. So I mean, that's not going away at all. But this kind of niche seems a little nichey.
Yeah, the bike delivery guys, spending billions of dollars in that industry seemed a little insane, I'm gonna be honest. But something that's well established like a Fresh Direct, and especially in a market as condensed and consolidated and just target rich as New York is, they are in that situation where grocery delivery is a need. Because if you want to get quality groceries, if you want to get your weekly shop, you want to go to something like a Fresh Direct or something else. Otherwise, you're dragging your cart along the sidewalk from the bodega around the corner. There's not like a big supermarket like there is everywhere around me. I've got four HEBs within 3 miles of my house. And I can just hop in my car and do that. I can't imagine doing that in New York,
No,
especially
that
in a
sounds
dense
terrible.
place like Manhattan or something like that. So there's still money to be made, and there's still a definite need for it in a place like New York City. I'll just be interested to see where that pans out, because I bet you we'll see something about it and soon. Well, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this week. Um, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.
The
Okay.
golf tournament ended up pretty nice. I got to get one of the last spots and got partnered with a lime grower shipper who is a 300-yard driver.
Oh,
So so we ended up finishing second. So that was kind of nice.
nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, it was good. It worked out great.